Making sure Gordon and Andrew are here.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll begin with a moment of silent prayer. Please remember in your thoughts of prayer those who fell on this most somber date, 9/11. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, with the roll call, Supervisor Gallitz and Supervisor Kist are excused. Supervisor Krebs is running late, stuck in traffic. He'll be here in about 10 minutes. Begin with the affidavit of posting. This is a meeting of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. Prior to this meeting, public notice was given by posting a copy of the agenda in the office of the county clerk and emailing the agenda to the West Bend Daily News, which is the official newspaper. In addition, the agenda was emailed to CNI newspapers, Express News, the Kewaskum Statesman, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, WIBD, WMBZ Radio, and WTKM Radio. The above action is in conformity with the state of Wisconsin's open meeting law. We'll begin with the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion? Supervisor Mahalik, Supervisor Hartwig. Any corrections? Any comments?
I called them in. Did they get me?
Who did you speak to?
Mary.
Then they would.
That's with the consent, that's with the other stuff, that was taken care of.
Okay. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going to jumble it up a little bit today. We're going to, is Jennifer Amenda here?
Yes.
Yes.
She is.
Okay. We're going to begin with Resolution 32. Entertain a motion to accept. Supervisor Gonring, Supervisor Smisek.
Whereas Jennifer A. Amenda has contributed more than 18 years of loyal service to the citizens of Washington County, and whereas Jennifer A. Amenda has chosen to retire from her present position of program assistant at UW Extension, now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Jennifer A. Amenda for her 18 years of meritorious service. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to her heartfelt thanks for her many accomplishments and successes. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Jennifer A. Amenda as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
But I worked in the health department for 15 and then wound up in extension for the lab staff. And I think Todd and especially Josh wouldn't have been possible. Oh, there he is. But I really mean that. So thank you, Josh. It was a great opportunity, and I'm very grateful. The time flew. It had its bumps, but basically it flew by. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your service.
Yeah.
And you are an honor to give this to you.
Oh my God.
So,
What the heck? Gosh, thanks, guys.
John, give it back.
next on the agenda will be the accommodation of Detective Christopher, did I get it right, Killy? Or is it Kylie? Killy, and K-9 Gunner upon his retirement. Unfortunately, Gunner is unable to be here with us tonight. I was looking forward to petting him, but he's blowing his coat and having some other issues, so.
So just as we've done with Jennifer, this body will take a moment out of their deliberations to kind of congratulate and a dedicated county employee. And so I thought this might be fitting to do this for Gunner. Gunner, unfortunately, he's feeling ill tonight. Otherwise, we had plans to have him here. That was kind of the intent of it. It just didn't work out that way. So what I did is I wrote a commendation for Detective Chris Killy, the canine handler, and Canine Gunner. Whereas Canine Gunner began his law enforcement career with the Washington County Sheriff's Office in November 2009 and officially retired on May 22nd, 2019 after nearly a decade of dedicated service to the citizens of Washington County. And whereas Canine Gunner has been deployed nearly 1,000 times throughout his career, including deployments in 41 investigations and search warrants, 70 school searches, 295 jail searches, and 525 traffic stops. And whereas Canine Gunner was directly responsible for the direct seizure of substantial amounts of contraband throughout his career, to include 15,148 grams of marijuana, 90 grams of cocaine, 64 grams of heroin, 7.4 grams of MDMA, 617 narcotic tablets, 798 items of drug paraphernalia, and $89,960 of illegal drug money. And whereas Canine Gunner has been directly responsible for evidence developed that resulted in 128 felony arrests, 79 misdemeanor arrests, and 145 county ordinance violations throughout his career. And whereas Canine Gunner and Detective Christopher Killey have devoted countless hours of training and preparation to ensure the program was a success. And whereas Detective Killey remains an invaluable mentor to the new canine officer to maintain the highest level of standards during the transition to our new canine. Now, therefore, be resolved that Detective Killey and Canine Gunner are hereby commended for their professionalism and dedication to duty and service to the citizens of Washington County.
We have some more hardware.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
Thank you so much for all that you do. Washington County's finest. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
This program would not have been a success without Detective Killey. He had just dedicated a lot of time to making sure it was a success, and I can't thank him enough.
Thank you.
And dog handler is quite the involved. So that's hours and hours and hours upon training initially and continuing onward throughout, so. The next order of business will be commendations. Deputy Sheriff Detective James Frankow, Deputy Sheriff Detective Dave Kloppenstein, Deputy Sheriff Detective Don Kapla, Deputy Sheriff Brian Herbst, and Deputy Sheriff Blake DeMonk. Now, rather than simply have the commendations read, I'd like to recognize the deputies involved in this investigation and arrest of 2 suspects that committed 3 armed robberies. One in the town of Addison, one in Menominee Falls, and one in Sheboygan. The professionalism, collaboration, and just plain police work, great police work by the deputies Brian Herbst and Blake DeMonk, detectives Don Kapla, James Frankow, and Dave Kloppenstein were exemplary. Each of them personify all that is right and good about law enforcement. These men truly are the finest among us. Going above and beyond expectations, Deputy Herbst, after the reported bank robbery in Addison on April 8th, 2019, responded to I-41 to monitor traffic and was able to identify the suspect vehicle, even though the original description of the vehicle was incorrect. After another reported robbery in Sheboygan on August 9th, Deputy DeMonk was able to locate the suspect vehicle and effected a felony traffic stop and take both suspects into custody. After the suspects were taken into custody, Detective Frankow was able to obtain confessions from the suspects. Detective Kloppenstein was able to piece together information linking the suspects to the Addison robbery. Detective Kapla wrote subpoenas and search warrants and obtained video evidence that solidified the case against the suspects. These Washington County Sheriff's deputies worked as a team to put together a solid case and to ensure that these criminals were apprehended, charged, and will be convicted, protecting the public from further criminal activity they were likely to commit. We recognize that the Washington County Sheriff's Department delivers the best in public safety for our citizens, and I want to thank each one of you for all that you do. You guys should please step forward. Detective Franco, first. Please. Detective Capel. Detective Rothstein. Deputy Long. And Deputy Herbst is not here. Huh?
He was unable to make it.
Okay, he was unable to make it. Okay. Thank you very much, you guys. Awesome job, guys. Awesome job. Being a 30-year law enforcement officer, seeing what these guys did, this is how police work is to be done, and nothing but kudos for these guys. Okay, we'll move on to 2019 Resolution 33. General fund transfer for the creation of a memorial for those who served in the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Did I get see a motion? Supervisor Basil, Supervisor Carr.
Costume change.
Okay. Along with, we need to vote on it, so we can vote.
You'll want to talk about it first.
Oh, we talk about it first? Okay, you want to talk first?
Sure. So in your packets is a resolution that spells out what we're asking you to do. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at it. The Cliff's Notes version is this. We did a walk. We had a goal to raise $150,000. We raised $170,000. Our goal was to put $100,000 into a fund to create a Veterans Endowment Fund to make sure that those flags and stakes get placed every year into perpetuity. That is achieved. This $70,000 will help our partners at the 9/11 Memorial, hopefully soon to be the Wisconsin State 9/11 Memorial, fulfill their portion of the veterans piece of their memorial. So we're asking, this is the only mechanism we have to do a transfer of this sort. It is not taxpayer money in any way, shape, or form. It is all funds that have been raised on behalf of our walk, and hopefully in the coming months we'll talk about how we continue to raise funds for that endowment fund. So at this time we're asking for you to consider this resolution. I'm happy to take any questions, and afterwards we'd like to present a check if you choose to approve this resolution.
Supervisor McEwen.
I've got no questions. I'd just like to compliment the follow-through with both raising the money, but also following through with the endowment idea. You know, the endowments themselves, if done correctly, should take care of these things, and you can continue to move on to other aspects of our county that we want to do that might have lower priority, maybe lower on the list of what might not even be close to being mandated, but it's something we want to do for the quality of life. So if we can look at this as an example in the future and try to raise money in this way or in other donations or in fundraisers to have endowments set up, that should be the focus, I think. And for things that we want to do, if we want to do it, this is the perfect example. So I commend you in being able to do it, and I'll definitely support this. Thank you.
Administrator Shulman, would you like to talk a little bit about what went on in Madison today regarding the 911?
Sure. So today we had the opportunity, you'll remember back a little bit to a few months ago, I guess it's almost probably a year or so ago already, when you passed a resolution designating the 9/11 Memorial in Kewaskum as the county's memorial and asking the legislature to designate it as the state memorial. Well, today we had a press conference with a lot of the folks sitting in the audience tonight to talk to our legislators about doing exactly that. Thanks to Senator Dewey Strobel and Representative Tim Rantham, who are the authors of legislation that would name State Highway 28 from Interstate 41 to State Highway 144. It would name that stretch of road the 9/11 Memorial Highway. And then it would also put on the map the memorial in Kewaskum as the state memorial. So we had a wonderful event today, press event, a lot of really moving speakers. I'm sure many of you have heard Gordon Haberman speak in the past. He did a fantastic job. And then we made our way around the state capitol asking for co-authors and co-sponsorships, I should say, to that legislation. And I don't know how everybody else did, but we got overwhelmingly positive response from the legislators that we talked to. So we're very hopeful that in the coming months, we're going to, in fact, see this memorial named as the state memorial and the highway named as the State Memorial Highway. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Okay. I have something to present to Mr. Haberman, if you want to step forward. All right, make sure we got to go first, right? Okay. So, we will, see no further discussion on this, we'll vote on this electronically. We ready? Supervisor Sorcy? Passes unanimously.
Bear with me.
A small check made to Wisconsin 911 Memorial. $70,000.
Amazing.
So, all thanks to the idea from Josh.
Well, Ashley and the
Josh
whole
and
committee, we've
Ashley
got all
and
kinds of
Dustin.
committee members and like
And
Ethan.
everybody who participated, why don't you come forward?
So while everybody's coming up, I'll just say thanks to the committee for their help. I'm not gonna be in a big brown uniform here somewhere. Sheriff Schulteis, his wife, Ethan, Matt, Ashley, and her husband Dustin who obviously walked with us, with Jody and I, my wife Jody. And then the team from Quad who was fantastic. Not only were they sponsors, they went way above and beyond. We should be really happy and thankful to have them. Quad as a corporate citizen in Washington County. And Kurt Rush, our veteran service officer, who did amazing work keeping the books and snapping the whip. He lived up to his Marine title. So.
I just want to express our deep appreciation of the Board of Directors, Kewaskum members, Nick, that this will go a long way in building a memorial in Washington County that will serve to educate and represent the facets of 9/11. And it's fitting that it's happening on this day. And thank you so much, Josh. Thank all of you. I appreciate it.
Would you rather send me something or?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Maybe you should get a picture.
For sure.
Oh. We're gonna do a quick photo. We're gonna have a short video too. When, you wanna get that started, Ethan?
Dim the lights. Just the highs.
On Saturday, May 25th, 2019, I, along with my wife Jody, County Clerk Ashley Reichert, and her husband Justin, trekked nearly 40 miles to forever honor our Washington County veterans. As veterans of post 9/11 conflicts ourselves, Justin and I carried 22 pounds to recognize the 22 veterans per day who commit suicide. We are forever with them. The success of this event is an inspiration and a testament to the amazing generosity of our community, raising over $150,000 and continuing to ensure a flag is placed on all 6,000 plus veteran grave sites in Washington County. Special thanks to all of our generous donors, to the numerous volunteers who helped that day, to the 100 plus people who joined us on the Eisenbahn Trail, to the committee members who made this entire idea possible. Finally, thank you to all those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. As we prayed to begin our walk, in the words of General Patton, it is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived.
Yeah, okay.
January 2017, we had gone to watch one of my nephews play basketball.
Okay, we good? Okay, the next order of business will be consideration of 2019 Resolution 16, resolution changing Washington County's form of government to create the Office of County Executive of Washington County reconsideration. I turn it over to Brad for a bit.
Well, I'd like to just take a moment and sort of set forth procedurally what I think might need to occur this evening with regard to this resolution. As you know, 2019 Resolution 16 is up on reconsideration, and over the course of the past couple of months or so, there was an ad hoc committee that had convened to explore this issue further and to make some recommendations potentially to the county board as to what they felt an appropriate resolution should look like. The committee completed that work and asked Ethan and I to take a look at some recommended changes that they thought would be appropriate. And I think you have those things in your packet. There should be a tracked version of the original resolution, and then there should be a version of the changes that I recommended without all the tracking and crossouts on it. And I think what likely should occur this evening in wake of what happened was a motion to pass the original resolution, followed by what I would recommend to be a friendly amendment to the original resolution to adopt the changes recommended by the ad hoc committee. If you look at the changes the ad hoc committee made, they're really not substantive. I'd call them inconsequential changes. They sort of give some further explanation as to what they feel are appropriate considerations to make in terms of why Washington County may need a county executive. If you don't do it as a friendly amendment, I suppose somebody could move to amend the original resolution, and we could go over the amendments more specifically, but seems like that may be unnecessary given the nature of what the ad hoc committee recommended and how that amendment looks. So again, what I'd recommend is a motion to pass the original resolution followed by a request for a friendly amendment, preferably by somebody who was on the ad hoc committee, and then you could go and discuss the resolution as amended.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor McCune, second by Supervisor Bossert. Friendly amendment by Supervisor Brandt. Do I hear a second? Supervisor Mary.
Well, if there's no objection then to the friendly amendment, I would procedurally recommend then that you now consider the original resolution amended, and that's what you would be voting on.
Okay, so we'll need another motion for as amended, or no?
Yeah. Do a motion now to pass the resolution as amended.
Okay, need a motion to move the resolution forward with the amended portion. Supervisor Basil, Supervisor Kelly. Okay, and is there any discussion? Oh, hang on, wait till Ashley comes back.
they're ready to take up the resolution as amended.
As amended. Do you have that?
We'll just type in as amended. He didn't do, he didn't voice vote for the other.
Supervisor Dice.
Would you please repeat what it is we're voting on right now?
We are voting, you want to address that?
It would be the original resolution as amended by the changes recommended by the ad hoc committee.
Okay, so this is the motion?
This is the motion.
All right, then I have some comments.
Go ahead.
When the idea of changing our form of governance from administrator to county executive arose, the only concern I had was whether this was the right time, as I have always felt that at some point in time, Washington County would be ready for this change. I have attended the meetings of the ad hoc committee, listened to the information presented and the discussions that followed, and listened and considered comments from other supervisors. I am grateful for the extra time that has been provided us to ruminate on this important decision. This is not an easy decision for any of us. There are those who believe it is the right time because our county is growing, our population is increasing, and a county executive would have more clout at the table on large issues as well as other varied reasons for having this. And there are those who believe it's not the right time and that there may never be a right time. They believe there would be too much power in the hands of one person, that the county board would become ineffective. But here's my big but. In this county, as in every state in the union, we elect our government leaders. A county executive is and must be a leader. County board supervisors are and must be leaders. We are fortunate to have a very competent administrator. He has led us well these past 5+ years. We were told early on to remove him from the equation, however, as we struggled with this decision. Initially, I had trouble with this, but have come around to see the bigger picture. And this is bigger than Josh or any of us. After a long thought process, I have come to the conclusion that this is the right time, and that we should leave it to our constituents to decide who will lead this county. But whether or not we have a county executive form of government as a result of this vote or a future vote, I will certainly continue working with our administrator or a newly elected county executive. We will all have to continue to work together in moving Washington County forward. That's our charge, whatever the vote is tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Supervisor Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I urge all members of the board to vote yes on this very important change. If you are already on board with going to a county executive form of government, congratulations. If you are still considering or undecided, consider these points. As a board, we have some very important decisions that will be coming in the next few months. Samaritan Home and a countywide compensation plan being among those. With next year's election and the number of sitting board members who have indicated they will not seek re-election, the majority of supervisors sitting here a year from now will have one term or less under their belts. For all purposes, we will have a green board of supervisors. And we all realize it can take a year and a half to properly get up to speed with the processes that make the county and this board function. That new board will need continuity of leadership to properly manage its tasks. We do not need to be hiring and breaking in a new administrator at the same time. This continuity, this board and this county will need can come through Josh being in place as county executive. Let's call a spade a spade. We're going to lose Josh eventually. He's not going to build his professional career and life in Washington County, and good for him. it will be our loss to endure. But let's move forward with this change now and encourage his election as the county's first executive. And we will for sure have his leadership for at least 4 more years. District 26 supports the change to the county executive form of government and encourages all of you to vote thusly. Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Sorcy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, my stance has not changed. And the reason being, I said I was open-minded when I first got in here, but apparently it was overlooked. I asked that supervisors from Milwaukee County be brought in here, and guys around the state who I've talked to, that's the first thing I did, was ask them, where am I going? I asked the chairman of the board of Milwaukee County, Teddy Lipscomb, who I've known for 10 years. And I asked him, I said, just tell me, I can take it. He says, why would you ruin a good thing? So that's my stance. I'm going to stay there. If you would have brought somebody in and let somebody talk, it would be fine, but that never happened. So that's my stance.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, we'll vote on this electronically. Mark? Motion passes 13-11. Next on the agenda is dashboard presentation by Public Affairs Coordinator Ethan Hollenberger.
Ethan.
Got a computer restarted. We got that far. At least that's my presentation on there. Oh, that's why it turned off.
Sometimes it takes about 15 minutes for it to cool down before it turns back on. So.
Oh, there it goes.
Sure. There we go.
So as many of you know, when this position was created a year ago, July, there was a footnote in the ordinance that said I had to save $400,000 by the end of the 2021 budget, because you passed the 2021 budget in November of 2020. So we've created a dashboard, and I'll present that to you. There were some other things in the dashboard about other things that I do that we tracked, but it had cosigns and other things in it, and I ruined the formula. So we're finding a better way to track that going forward. I have the data, we just don't have it. It says very little. So, Linda, what's going on here?
It's you, Ethan.
I can, as long as we get it on eventually, I can just keep going. Some of it they don't need to see on the projector because it's just generic stuff.
There we go.
Is it not on the right thing? Is that why it turned on?
Wait, you gotta wait for the projector to turn on and.
It's got to warm up.
Warm up.
It was on briefly.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to discuss tonight, in addition to the dashboard, is what does a public affairs coordinator do? I'm actually the only one really called public affairs coordinator in the state. Outagamie County has a pure lobbyist who I talked to today, and he never leaves Madison except for his county board. Other counties have legislative services for their county board, like Waukesha County, but she doesn't expressly lobby. And then Milwaukee County has actually two, one for the board, one for the county executive. And Dane County has one that works for both of them. I want to talk about what we've succeeded on and what we're still working on and what is next. So we're still fine until I get there. I can go over in a second.
Yeah. So what is a public affairs coordinator? So one of the things that you talk about when I'm a registered lobbyist is, of course, I track and provide feedback on legislation. We do that. I do that frequently with legislators and with WCA and testifying committees. When we testify or take a position, generally our policy is that it has to relate to a resolution you've passed. So while we provide feedback on how it affects a county, we may not take a position on it if a legislative asks, or sometimes the bill's just not it doesn't really affect us that much. We'll provide feedback, but we don't need to take a position. I gain information on potential grants or opportunities that impact Washington County. There was a lot of tracking the state budget and what was going to happen in the state budget and figuring out what the opportunities are. We're currently in the process of analyzing all the different things as they come available from the state budget that takes effect. County stuff typically runs not concurrent with our fiscal year. The state fiscal year is July to June, so they implement stuff in the first half, the last half of our fiscal year, and then we get it in the next fiscal year as we budget. I tell Washington County's story, largely what we're doing and how to get more information out there. That's something we're working on. I'll talk a little bit more about how I've been involved in that. I do a lot of intergovernmental relations. One of the advantages when I was in Washington, D.C. in July of having one of a few people who go to Washington, D.C. Is there's a lot of opportunity with intergovernmental relations offices in federal agencies. Nobody else from Wisconsin is talking to them, and it's an important way to get feedback on how to apply for grants, because they will give you exactly what the administration is looking for. You just have to ask and know to ask. And then I educate others on county government, what we do, and kind of some of the issues that we're having. Are we just skipping?
Oh, it's coming in.
Oh, there we go. So the first part of this, and I'm going to go through these individually, which is why we can wait a little bit longer. I'm not exactly stalling. You had passed or defeated 6 resolutions. There we are. Before I got here. This was your resolutions in June of 2018. The state should fund TAD OWI. The state should fund another district attorney because you were funding it. County biennial budget. Those 3, I think, had passed in consecutive sessions. Actually, the first 4 passed in consecutive sessions. You defeated a resolution on levy limits, and Mayor Mahalik going to be disappointed I haven't passed Stark Story yet. So, TAD OWI. We did get some funding in the state budget. We got $1 million for TAD OWI, not for Washington County. It's a grant program for new TADs. You were funding it, so it's questionable because of a governor's veto if we can apply. That was a very frustrating thing about some of the governor vetoes, because we negotiated with Joint Finance some specific legislative language, things that we liked, things that we knew Washington County could use, and he vetoed it. He vetoed it, the 2 really that impact us, 3 impact us. This one he vetoed. He vetoed extra money for roads that affect us that we don't know how we're going to get it. We have to apply. And he vetoed district attorney funding. And when they started implementing it, actually, we thought we were getting an ADA, and then they said, well, maybe not. But I think we are going to get one. So we did other things that kind of related to this grant. There's an error in the slide I just noticed. We did not receive a $0 grant. We received a $235,000 grant. So at the end of 2018, we had applied for the first time to do medication-assisted treatment for opioid users in our jail, people who are on TAD, maybe ready to get out. It's called Vivitrol, if you've ever heard of it. This grant was denied twice. We were told we didn't qualify. We read the statute, and we qualified. It was about a 3-week fight using the creative words of County Attorney Stern, me badgering the Department of Health Services, and others. We were able to receive our $80,000 grant. We were declined, and now we have $144,000 because we brought a team together that we didn't have time to bring together before. One of the things I should mention is I don't do this alone. I can't do this alone. What I do is I take stuff off other people's plates, help do some research, and bring the right team together. and call the right people. One thing that I learned very quickly when I came to the county was staff tend to talk to staff that they're at the same level with. What that means is we weren't talking to the secretary's offices. We weren't talking to the decision makers. And so when I came in, we immediately had a secretary's office level position that I could talk to. There's a colleague to colleague relationship. So they don't think it's weird that I'm constantly talking to the secretary's office and getting these things. And we get answers quicker on a lot of different things. I won't talk about all of those today. Because we fought for that grant, DHS called me and said, did you know there's a SAMHSA grant and others available that you didn't apply for, and you're the last unfunded high overdose county? We said no. We applied. We got $235,000, and we just applied for a renewal for $250,000. So that's almost $500,000 for opioid grants and reduction in that alone that we applied for and we didn't get. In mid-2019, I think some of you in Human Services might know, we applied for a drug court grant for $500,000 for 4 years. We will learn the fate of that in a few days, but the team was able to, we moved a little fast on that, and I met with some folks in DC. When I met with those folks, if we get denied that grant, we have a clear pathway how to apply next year. We expect to be one of the 95 funded, but we applied for it in quick order. We know how to do it. And this week, President Trump announced more opioid grants. So the point of this resolution is you asked for it. We are doing significant investment without county money into TAD and other programs related to overdose. State funding for district attorneys. The state budget added about 60 positions. We were expected to get one. We are still expected to get one. But Governor Evers' veto put some extra work into this. We rank the highest to probably get 2, but there's not enough positions for us to get 2. That's a $56,000 savings in the next budget. County biennial budget. This had failed a couple times before. I was the committee clerk the last time around in the legislature. This is the second bill that Washington County led. We led the health merger bill. It passed the Assembly in June, and we expect it on the floor in the Senate in October or November. Statewide library system. Really, you wanted to fix the $160,000 payments going to other counties. The statewide system's a non-starter with librarians, even our own. We needed a card to help with negotiations. We're trying to work with all the municipalities on this. We have an idea of joint libraries where the current libraries agree through an agreement to serve the rest neighboring towns. It gives us a card to negotiate either with Waukesha or to significantly cut the decrease that's happening and keep investing in our own libraries. We will refresh this policy with the direction of administrative in the next couple months. We are not, if you hear from your municipalities that we are moving fast, we are not. The state law requires us to get certain resolutions from towns to make sure they're interested. We are going fast to get the permission for us to work with them to do it. We are not going fast to pressure them into signing joint library agreements, and we are not proposing merging libraries. You defeated a levy limit resolution. I use this a lot. We still have levy limits in place, and what we use it for is things in the levy law that need to be fixed. So we're using it on the referendum bill. And this week, Representative Brooks introduced a bill that you will refresh your position on this next month that would cut the penalty and levy when we transfer services. When you consolidated with Waukesha County, you cut your levy $250,000 by state law. Or Zaki County, sorry. When you did some jurisdictional transfers, we had to cut our levy as well. We have fixed that. We don't think that's happening again. So what did I ask you to approve? I'm not going to go through these one by one in individual slides. The point of those last slides is you, before I even got here, had asked me to do things. We're largely on a path to solve those, with the exception of dark store, because we think county tax assessing is a better way to fix that model without making WMC and others mad. They are on board with that. We are in the process of getting other counties on board with that. I asked you to approve me to lobby for family care funding. We did get increased funding this year. We don't know exactly how much it will be. It will not be included in my dashboard. And we think there are going to be fewer strings like the resolution had. Child Protective Services was a huge push for WCA. We met several times with our finance members and Senator Fitzgerald. We met Senator Strobel in his personal office with Coral and Josh Schroman, the County Administrator Schroman. And we're happy that we almost got fully funded from the request from WCA. And it was because the Senate position was altered, largely because we changed the minds of Senator Strobel and Senator Fitzgerald with the help of WCA. Next year, we will see $375,000 to $450,000 in increased child and family aids from the state, of which the dashboard will say the levy offset's about $100,000. We will increase programming for one of the first times with that. The CNA instruction of hours passed the Assembly. We expect it to be exec out of the Senate this fall. Criminal justice reform, which was the juveniles, was a defensive position. There's been no bills on that. The Wisconsin 9/11 Memorial, you saw it was introduced today. We expect passage in November. Public works tools, there were some in the budget. We expect a design build bill any day that we think can pass and get approved by the road builders. The jailer bill appears dead without having to make a deal. There's an IRS issue with that bill and others. The Veterans Trust Fund you heard about today, and we are seeing about a 7% increase in Medicaid reimbursement for Samaritan, thanks largely that Representative Gundrum's the Chair of Aging and Long-Term Care. So those are your resolutions. I do them, you give them to me, I do them, where we put on a path to do them. Other major projects, which is telling Washington County story, I was involved in the new website RFP. I-41 guardrail should be going in any day now. I think the bids are back. One of the issues I think Scott's mentioned to you before is Fed swap, this notion that we should use state money instead of federal money in local projects. We are still fighting on that, but there was a major issue on County Highway H with a bridge going over, I think, the Eisenbahn Trail. It was potentially a 7-figure cost difference if we used federal money. We put a lot of pressure on a brand new DOT secretary. I don't think he was happy about it. But we were able to guarantee that that project for now is SEG money and we can spend less money on the engineering and the early cost. That is not on my dashboard, but that is a huge savings to the county because of a bill that we worked on in the extraordinary session. So you all heard about the lame duck session. Washington County actually had a bill that we advanced during that time based on Fed swap. Jurisdictional transfers got hung up by the DOT. I worked on that. The road funding veto and significant GTAs we're going to get 10% GTA across all municipalities. The transit superintendent you passed will be on the dashboard. It's a $26,000 savings. It's actually probably a little more than that. I'm working on some county referendum language. Solar Now will be at $196,000, and it will grow slightly based on when we have the actual data of the output. And we are negotiating with the Village of Richfield to give us some money for human resources, and I spent a significant amount of my summer after the budget with the County Executive Ad Hoc Committee. So this is the dashboard. You asked me for $400,000. Conservatively, I gave you $506,400. I did not do dollar for dollar on everything. Dollar for dollar on Solar Now, transit, and the first MAT grant. After that, I did a percentage. District attorney, we did 100%. The opiate, we did roughly 10% of the others to get to this number. So I don't know if that's my last slide. That's not my last slide. What we want to do is we want to do this again, but I think it's going to be more difficult because we don't have a state budget. But I think at the federal level, there's some work to be done. And I think there's some work and some efficiencies coming. We'll calculate the Samaritan savings. We'll hopefully do the transit merger, the library negotiations. Hopefully we get $1 million to $2 million to do a road project that we don't currently have in the budget through the grant program. We're looking at fuel systems for county cards, Lizard Mountain Park, and one of the federal opportunities is brownfield grants. I think that is it.
Supervisor Mahalik?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a great dashboard view. Thank you very much. I appreciate your effort on this. Two quick things. One is you have mentioned the savings that we're going to have with Samaritan. I think that's phenomenal because that is the 800 or 900-pound gorilla in the room. That's the thing that's going to come up and really hit us when it comes to budget. Is there a dollar amount that you're ascribing to that? I didn't see something.
No, not yet. We're going to wait until we know exactly what the dollar amount is. And so all that growth in Medicaid and family care family care does is prevents us from putting having to put property tax into
Okay,
that.
The
for a
other
couple
thing, because we don't have any corroborating documents here, so I just wanted a clarification. On the solar now, I think you have $196,000
Yep.
that was done there. Tell me what that is. It describes-
the $98,000 contract times 2.
Okay, well, the solar now, help me just.
Oh, Solar Now is the project that went through administrative that we were going to put
Right.
solar panels on the River Road and Cedar Creek Road.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knows what that is,
Yep.
because, again, without the documents, so, of what we're doing here, so we're anticipating a real energy savings over time with that, not.
No, they're writing us a check for $98,000 a year. It's a rent payment.
Okay. All
It
right.
goes right back to the grid.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can't take it. PSC doesn't allow us to take the energy directly, and we don't own the system. So they will pay us rent based on the MISO score of how much energy they can produce from it. It will go up after year 1 because they estimated at 50% efficiency, or for simple terms. They think they'll get 60 for the first several years. So it'll go up, and then as they
And then go back
age, it'll come back down.
Okay, thank you very much.
Supervisor Bossert?
Okay, I want to thank Ethan for the good work he's done, and I want to thank the supervisors who voted to create this position. I think what we've learned here, because if you look on social media, we've taken some heat for creating this position. Some people call it a second administrator. But what we've learned is if we hire the right people, if we staff appropriately, it's not an expense, it's an investment, and it's an investment that yields to the benefit of our taxpayers. We're going to be able to do more and get more federal funding because of Ethan's hard work. So thank you, Ethan, and thank you, everybody who supported creating this position. Thank you.
Yeah, I concur. I thank you for creating the position, too. I now live in Washington County, so that's also good. No, I think it was really the faith that you had and the opportunities we're trying to find to do that. And I think we're gonna do a stretch goal. I think we're gonna try to do $500,000 again next year and keep going, and then figuring out another way to report directly the projects that I work on that maybe aren't cost savings. I mean, I-41 guardrail, I can't value how many lives. I mean, we had a guardrail hit actually on the south side of the county last week, and we had one that potentially could have got caught if the guardrail would have been there a couple of weeks ago.
Supervisor McCune?
So in your opinion on the library, the consolidation, ideas and whatnot, you got talking about negotiation, what feedback have you got? It seems like it's such a territorial castle in
Yep.
certain parts of the state.
Municipalities with libraries don't like changing.
If you leave it to the public, when I've asked the general public and my constituents and voters and non-voters and just common sense, that barrier and that castle crumbles fast, and common sense actually takes over. Do you think this would be one where it could be from way at the top, if we can get to, because the public, I think, really understands it. It's just these individual little fiefdoms get so defensive and rile up, these people that jump up and down and that you can't touch our library. But if you look at it, I think from an economic standpoint, we could do so much more and have so much more money to help with the consolidation. If we could get past where they'll actually listen. Chris changed her mind on this last vote. A couple other people based on the board changed their mind. Things happen when you look at the facts. Mr. Brandt, we had an ad hoc committee, they've vetted out some facts. All of a sudden now it's a good deal. What do you think about the library position where we could push it, maybe get some groups together, maybe some other counties together, or what do you think we could do there?
No, at convention, WCA conference, there's about 3 counties that get screwed as much as we do. But we intend to look at them. But one of the jokes I say to the librarians is, and the folks about this, is something I learned in the legislature is don't make reading teachers mad or librarians, because they do show up and yell at you. I was at a meeting of the Library Services Board in Hartford. It was very tough because I think there's some skepticism that we're not actually telling them the truth, that we're literally just trying to study this with them and do it. I mean, you're right. It is a fiefdom. We go to a town and a village board, it takes me 15 minutes to get the resolution passed to study it. It takes us 45 minutes to an hour in a library services board for them to say, we don't really understand it, we want you to do nothing. And thankfully Mayor Mahalik was there to defend me and say, we're just trying to study this officially so that we can get there. It'll take time to get the librarians there. I think we're deciding what we want to present to the board and how strong of a position you
really
have.
Care? See, I really don't care about what the librarians think. If it's the right thing, I'd rather do the right thing. And if I tick off every librarian and I have every librarian yell at me, so what? Bring it on. If it's good for the state and if it's good for the people that use the library, I don't really care about me. I see that's where the one thing is I don't really care if we offend them.
I don't.
And neither do I.
My partner who presents with me does.
Well, maybe they got to get tougher skin because it doesn't matter. I think we got to do it. It's the right thing. And I know what's going to happen. It's just maybe not the right time now, but for everybody. But I think it is. Let's move it forward.
Yeah, that's our I try to explain to them that our board is tough. I mean, that's why they're not increasing the levy, because they know the money leaves. I think we're going to get there. I think it's going to take some time, and I think they're going to have to do some research. And we're going to ask you, how much time do you want me to spend on this issue? That's really what administrative is going to talk about. How much of my time should be spending this issue, or should we just wait for them to solve the problem? And that's what we're going to have administrative discuss next week, and the board will discuss that next week. How strong does this body want to vote? Because I need your vote to be strong when we're negotiating joint libraries, if that makes sense.
Sure. Thank you.
Supervisor Brandt.
I don't quite agree with all the comments that my fellow supervisor just explained, but my wife sits on the Slinger Library Board, and she had a lot of questions, and of course, I have to listen to her questions as the village president, so it all came as a surprise to me. I had no idea this was happening, and I made some calls to different supervisors, and they didn't know what was going on. The only thing that I have no problem with the administration going out and seeking this. I think I would have liked to have maybe a little heads up that it was going to happen, and it's just not the librarians, because at the village and the city level, we are setting the amounts that we send to the libraries. So, I mean, we have to know, what is the share that Slinger is going to get and Hartford's going to get.
And we agree with that? Did I cut you off?
Yeah. No, that's fine.
We agree with that. But what I said to Hartford today was, we want to look specifically at Washington County officially. Joint libraries come and go for all various reasons. We know that. That's what they're looking at. They're getting scared because what was happening is town of Grafton has it on their levy, the town of Grafton, and they're not exempt. So what they do is they say, wait, our taxpayers could get a cut if we just don't do this joint library. Town of Lisbon did it. Others have done it. Most joint libraries have done it to merge. Nobody's really done it to serve others in an effective way. And because of that, we're asking for the resolutions from the municipalities to say to DPI, we want a Washington County study so we know what the program looks like, so we can negotiate a joint agreement, and we can vote on it, and then we can send that to our county board. Because you have to approve it, and the County Library Services Board has to approve it. So the resolution is simply we need to investigate it. The proper way to investigate it is to get an opinion of the DPI And that's what the resolutions say. You can tinker with the verbs that I use in the sample, whether it's pursue or intend to pursue or whatever you want to say, that's fine. But in the long and the short of it is, we want the libraries at the table, and the libraries to tell us they want to be at the table. And if they want to take, what I basically said to Hartford was, if you want to take several months to do it, I have to go back. You heard Supervisor McCune. I have to come back to Supervisor McCune and tell him why we're going slow. He wants to go fast.
I want the whole state to consolidate.
You know, yeah. So if we can show it, we can work here. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. You know.
But don't you need to have all of the municipalities, all the townships, all the villages and cities in Washington County to approve this?
Just the ones that, so we would like to investigate if everything was a joint library so that when right now what happens is we negotiate our own library agreement. We don't use the state formula for the internal payments. I believe that if we have one joint library and others aren't, or we have two joint libraries and three that aren't, that's when libraries start to lose funding and it gets wishy-washy. We'd like to look at a full model with DPI in all the libraries to make sure you don't lose money. And again, the reason we're not proposing formulas is the resolution tells me to change state law. So that's why we are going slow. I need to have the boards discuss it. And if they want to delay it, they can delay it. That's fine. But if we just say, well, the libraries want to research it, to Supervisor McHugh's point, I don't think we'll ever get there. That's just my opinion. That's my personal opinion. Supervisor McCune maybe has his opinion as well. But I think that's what's going to happen, is the librarians will continue to run the clock. And we continue to not raise our levy, and they continue to lose money.
Well, it might be the case in some, but I don't think all are looking at it that way. I mean, I know we're looking at it with open eyes and Slinger.
And that's what
we just want some answers. You know, it's by how is the funding working in something different than we got now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Supervisor Dice?
Thank you. Ethan, I sit on the County Library Board and Monarch Library Systems Board, so I would have appreciated a heads up on this as well. I got a call actually from Mrs. Brandt on last Friday. I think she felt she could get further with me than with her husband, but. Unfortunately, I was leaving for out of town, but I had a phone call into Ashley, who I talked to on Monday, and then because I was on vacation, I had asked her to give Mrs. Brandt a call on this, because what I was hearing from her and what I heard from Ashley were two different things, and I didn't know anything about this, and then I get the director from Monarch Library Systems call me about it too, so it's to be, in the dark, and then all of a sudden you hear all this, and so please, for any future reference, any other discussions, if you can give me a heads up, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Seeing no more discussion?
Can you go back to the slide with the gauge? I just want to point something out in case it was lost on you. This goal that you're looking at on this slide was $400,000 by the end of next year. We're at $500,000 now, and the year's not over. So when Ethan talked about the stretch goal, you heard him commit to another $500,000 in the next year, right? That's what I heard. So good luck with that. Okay, I just wanted to. So it would be $1 million total. Yes, correct.
Luckily, the drug court is $500,000.
Better deliver. All right. So I just want to make sure you all saw that. So this is working very, very well, and there is been room for improvement on the communication side. But as I've told you in the past, communicating with 26 is a challenge. But we'll continue to work to improve upon that. We know that's an area of improvement. So thank you all.
Okay, seeing no further conversation. Our next meeting date is Wednesday, October 9th, 2019 at 6 PM. Adjournment, subject to chair. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You won't be here now? Thank you.